I will now begin the fifth lecture on food labeling and advertising regulations in South Korea. I am Dr. Danny Jun, the CEO of FSIRI, Food Science Information Research Institute. Our institute specializes in providing lectures, consulting and OTT services related to food. In the fourth lecture, the first half of the two parts, we learned about nutrition facts labeling. In this fifth lecture, let's take a closer look at the last half of nutrition facts labeling. In more detail, we will study the percentage for daily nutrient reference value, nutrient label format template, an emphasis on nutritional information. Let me talk about the percentage for daily nutrient reference value. The labeling unit and method for fat are described. The unit for fat is grams. The labeling method is as follows. If the fat content is 5 grams or less, the actual fat content can be displayed as it is, or in increments close to 0.1 grams. If the actual fat content exceeds 5 grams, the actual fat content can be displayed as it is, or in increments close to 1 gram. Now, let's calculate the percentage of nutrient content based on daily nutrient reference values for a product with an actual fat content of 5.6 grams. In this scenario, the actual content of 5.6 grams can be presented as it is, or rounded to the nearest 1 gram unit, which would be 6 grams. If the nutritional information displays fat as 5.6 grams, you divide this value by the daily nutrient reference values 54 gram for fat and multiply by 100. This yields a value of 10.37, which can be rounded to 10% for display. If the nutritional information displays fat as 6 grams, the same calculation results in a value of 11.11, rounded to 11% for display. The labeling unit and method for cholesterol and protein are described. The cholesterol can be displayed as the actual value or rounded to the nearest 5 mg increment. If the cholesterol content is less than 5 mg, it can be indicated as less than 5 mg. For protein, it can be displayed as the actual value or rounded to the nearest 1 gram increment. If the protein content is less than 1 gram, it can be indicated as less than 1 gram. Results of the nutrient analysis for a certain product revealed a cholesterol content of 13.5 mg and carbohydrate content of 0.6 grams. Following the significant figure rules, cholesterol is labeled as 15 mg, and carbohydrates are labeled as less than 1 gram. Now, let's explore the method of displaying the percentage of nutrient content based on the daily nutrient reference values of cholesterol and carbohydrates. The percentage of nutrient content based on the daily nutrient reference values should be calculated using the values specified on the nutritional label template, not the actual measured values. However, when using expressions like less than XX gram, based on significant figure rules, the actual measured values should be employed for representation. Therefore, for cholesterol, dividing the stated value of 15 mg by the daily nutrient reference values of 300 grams and multiplying by 100 results in 5%. For carbohydrates, dividing the actual measured value of 0.6 by the daily nutrient reference values of 324 grams and multiplying by 100 results in 0.18%. The first decimal place of this value is rounded, ultimately displaying as 0%. For foods targeting pregnant women, is it necessary to calculate the percentage of nutrient content based on the daily nutrient reference values? When indicating the percentage of nutrient content on specialty foods targeting specific groups such as infants, pregnant and lactating women, and patients, it can be displayed as a percentage relative to the daily nutrient reference values, or based on the recommended intake or adequate intake for that group according to the Korean Dietary Reference Intakes. When using the recommended intake or adequate intake as the reference value, It's necessary to specify at the bottom. The percentage of nutrient content is the percentage relative to the intake standards for the pregnant women group. Here, the recommended intake is the daily recommended nutrient intake for each age group, calculated based on the average requirement. Adequate intake is calculated based on the nutrient intake level of healthy individuals, using epidemiological survey results in cases where the recommended intake cannot be determined. Now I will discuss the nutrient label format template. Is it mandatory to use a nutritional information label template? Yes. The nutritional information must be displayed using the nutrient label format template. This is intended to enhance consumer understanding of nutritional information by maintaining a consistent nutritional labeling format. The nutrient label format template provided in the standards for labeling of foods. When the nutritional information on imported food differs from that of South Korea, how should it be displayed? The nutritional information displayed on imported food products may differ between the domestic and export countries due to varying labeling standards and testing methods. Therefore, the nutrient content displayed on imported food products in the language of the exporting country, and the content displayed according to domestic labeling standards, may vary. Therefore, when selling imported food products domestically, it is necessary to provide nutritional labeling that complies with the domestic standards. Finally, let's look into emphasis on nutritional information. Displaying the name of a nutrient, such as dietary fiber, in a location other than the nutritional information label format falls under the category of nutritional content emphasis marking. In this case, if the conditions specified in the detailed criteria for nutritional content emphasis marking, according to the standards for labeling of foods, are met, indicating, contains or source of, for that specific nutrient is permissible. For dietary fiber, when the food contains 3 grams or more per 100 grams, or 1.5 grams or more per 100 kilocalories, or 10% or more of the daily nutrient reference value per serving reference amount, you can indicate, contains or source of. Therefore, if the product contains 2.5 grams of dietary fiber per 10 kilocalories, the indication, contains dietary fiber, is permissible. However, in such cases, the indication must include the mandatory 9 nutrients specified in the standards for labeling of foods, including calories, sodium, carbohydrates, sugars, fats, trans fats, saturated fats, cholesterol, and protein, alongside the nutrient you wish to emphasize. Note that to indicate high or rich, the criteria should be twice that of contains or source of. This table is a partial excerpt of the criteria for nutritional content emphasis labeling as described earlier. Can we use erythritol instead of sugar and indicate 0 to mean sugar-free? The use of terms like sugar-free on products that are not appropriate. According to the nutrition emphasis labeling standards in standards for labeling of foods is considered misleading labeling or advertising. Additionally, highlighting or advertising of nutritional components, when the process of manufacturing that reduces or eliminates nutritional components has not been undertaken, is also considered misleading labeling or advertising. Therefore, in the case where erythritol is used instead of sugar to reduce calories, it falls under the category of reducing nutritional components through manufacturing and processing, and if it meets the specific criteria, such labeling would be permissible. When indicating no sugar added, the following conditions must be met. The first, the product must not contain added sugars. The second, the product must not use ingredients that functionally replace sugars such as honey, syrup, oligosaccharides, processed sugar products, excluding food additives that are not sugars. The third, the product must not use ingredients containing added sugars such as jams, jellies, candied fruits. The fourth, The product must not use ingredients where the sugar content has been increased through concentration, drying, etc., such as dried fruit pastes, concentrated fruit juices. The fifth, the product must not have increased sugar content through enzymatic hydrolysis or other processes. If you intend to use terms like reduced or decreased to emphasize nutritional content comparison, you should calculate this comparison based on at least 3 or more similar foods of the same type, including your own product, that have a high market share in the market. These similar foods should belong to the same food category and should be selected based on objective data, considering factors like main ingredients, ingredient ratios, manufacturing methods, and consumer purchasing patterns, which contribute to their perceived similarity. When comparing the nutritional content of the product to the calculated standard values, in case of calories, sodium, carbohydrates, sugars, dietary fiber, fat, trans fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and protein, there should be a minimum difference of at least 25% when compared to the standard values of other products. For vitamins and minerals excluding sodium based on the daily nutrient reference values, there should be a minimum difference of at least 10% of the daily nutrient reference values when compared to the standard values of other products. I will return to the 6th lecture. In the next lecture, we will learn about the date indication. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe and like.